welcome to the Karen Mitches podcast. Today we have Monica Gross.
Yay, that's me.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I know we've been trying to organize this for so long.
I know. I feel like it's been almost a year.
Yeah, it's been a minute for sure. But we made it.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah, we're here.
Accomplished.
Goal accomplished. Podcast accomplished. Yeah, you kept asking me, and I'm like, I'm away, and then I'm freezing my eggs, and then I don't know where I am.
Yeah, it started out, it was classic, like, comedian stuff. Like, you had shows to be on, and then it got interesting. No one's ever been too busy for me because they were freezing eggs.
Yeah, so I got asked to headline a show, and it would be like my first 30-minute set, and I was so excited, and I was like, yes, for sure. And then I realized, because I could still do it, like I could still do shows and podcasts the days leading up to the actual like surgery of egg freezing, but you don't know when the exact date is of your egg freezing, because it depends like how your hormones react to the med. So it might be 12 days in, it might be 14 days in. So the day that I was supposed to headline was like one of those potential dates. So then I had to message them, and I had to be like, hey, so like I really want to do this, but like I might be having surgery that day, but I don't know. And they were like, what? And I was like, I might be freezing my eggs that day, but I also don't know. And I'm like, I'd love to stay booked, but I also understand if you like have to book a headliner that will 100% not be in surgery on the date of the show. And they're like, yeah, I think we'll just put you on next month. And I was like, okay. So then
you still got to do the show.
Yes, I did it maybe the next month or a few months later. I don't know how often they run the show, but they had also asked me a few times, and I really wanted to do it. And I kept being like, oh, like I'm already booked, or I'm already doing this. And I didn't want them to get the impression that I didn't want to do the show, because I really wanted to do it. So I kept being like, please keep asking me, even if I keep rejecting you. Like, please never stop. And they were like, okay, like, you don't have to do this. I'm like, no, I want to. So.
Amazing. Okay. So is it like you contact the clinic when you're like, okay,
Yeah, so basically, you have to contact them on the first day of your period.
Oh, okay.
And I don't, sorry to all male listeners, but I don't track my period. Like, it just like comes when it comes, and I have no idea. And usually it comes like middle or near the end of the month, but then it came like the first day of the month. And so I contacted, and then all of my plans were messed up because I'd kind of scheduled things around like the time that I thought it was going to be. So then, anyways, I had to do it at the beginning of the month, reschedule a lot of shit. And then, yeah, that's why I was messaging, being like, hey, I know I booked this, but now I don't know if I can do it. And I couldn't be like, because my period came early. Like, these two male fucking 22-year-old comedy producers. So anyways, yeah, my period came early, and it was also a whole mess because I wanted my mom to be here when I was freezing my eggs, and I said, like, this is around the time I think I'm doing it, and she had booked a trip then for earlier, but then my period came early, so she was away, and I'm like, I'm gonna kill everyone. Anyways, and then you go in, and every day I would be like, can you please just give me the date of surgery just so I can, like, book my life around it, right? And they were like, no, we don't know until about, like, 5 days in, and surgery is usually like around 12 days in. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have a week notice. Anyways, yeah, so that's what happened.
When they freeze your eggs, like, what is the surgery?
Okay, it's so funny because I was talking to a comedian. I won't say who because I don't want to embarrass him, but like I was in like the depths of hell of my egg freezing. I think I was like day 5, and basically the days leading up to your surgery, you're injecting yourself with hormones and estrogen to like, I'll explain after, but you're injecting yourself with estrogen. And so I was so emotional, and I was talking to this male comic about it, and he's like, oh, like, is it cold? And I was like, what? And he's like, when you inject yourself with like cold air, because he thought freezing my eggs
was like they'd be frozen in your body. Oh,
I know. I was like, you're so cute. I was like, thank you for trying to relate to me. No, but basically what the surgery is okay, so your body releases an egg every month, and that's the egg that can get fertilized for you to get pregnant. So what happens when you're freezing your eggs is you inject yourself with hormones so that instead of one egg coming, it brings as many eggs like as it can to the surface. So instead of releasing one egg, you have like tons of eggs in there, so that then all these eggs are in there, and then on the day of your surgery they go in and they retrieve them out of your vagina, uterus, I don't know.
So when it's a surgery, is it through your abdomen or is it through...
It's like they
go in
it's like in your they like stick a needle in your vagina, but I was out because they give you fentanyl.
But it's like the needle is up there sucking out the eggs?
Oh, well, they put the needle up there to, like, freeze it. And then I don't know how they actually, like, they go in and
scoop them.
I think it's a scoop or like, a scrape.
I guess what I'm thinking is, to me, I'm like, it's not really a surgery. Like, they're not cutting you.
Okay. Whatever, Karen. Okay. Just kidding. Not that I took fentanyl or anything. Yeah, they're not cutting you open.
But they're in your cervix.
So they like stick a needle in your cervix to freeze it.
I didn't mean in any way to diminish it. It sounds awful.
Joking. I know. They don't cut anything open. But they I think it's like a scrape of your cervix to like scrape off the eggs. But I also kind of don't really understand anything and had no idea what was going on and just kind of surrendered myself to the process.
So once they get them, does that mean theoretically they could use them, they're good in 100 years? They're good whenever you want to use them?
Yes, but I also don't think that your personal body, well, obviously you'd be dead in 100 years. I don't know how long they're good for, but I think I don't know. I want to say 50 years, but I might be totally wrong. Yeah, something like that. They're just on ice at Yonge and Eglinton right now, across from the Chipotle. So you're driving by.
Is that weird now? Is that intersection weird for you?
It's not a weird intersection for me, but I think if I ever hatched one of these fucking eggs one day and then I drove by Yonge and Eglinton, I think I'd be you were there.
Every year on their birthday, you're do you want to go to Chipotle?
Do you want to go back to your freezer, where you originated? That's kind of the weird concept, right? Because you're just driving by and you're my insides are there, I guess, but yeah, I don't know, it's kind of strange because even if people freeze embryos now, which is the egg and the sperm combined, you're basically freezing a kid. That's a frozen kid.
So another question. Okay. When you get a partner,
yes, do
you think you'll make the embryo outside first?
No. This is what I don't understand, and I don't mean to be rude, but when I was going through the process of freezing my eggs, I was very vocal about it, on social media, and when people had questions, I was happy to answer it. And I would get questions from married women being hey, yeah, I'm looking into freezing my eggs. What's the process like? And I'm you can just fuck your husband. You don't have to go, you don't have to do this. But I do understand it's if they don't want to have kids now, even if they're married.
Yeah.
But again, it's when you freeze the embryo, I mean, if you have fertility issues, that's different. But if you freeze the embryo because you and your husband are together and you just want to go fuck off to Europe for a bit, it's basically you just have a frozen kid, which I guess is fine, to each their own. But it's just interesting because it's expensive, it's difficult, it's not an easy process. But I guess it still is an insurance policy.
Okay, what's the process once the guy gets involved?
Oh, you're asking me
put the egg in you and then...
Yes.
Okay.
That was your question. Yeah. So basically I have a low egg reserve, which means that I still release the one egg each month, but my reserve, which is like the number of eggs everyone has within them, is like lower than the average person.
Okay.
So they could only retrieve 6 eggs from my surgery, and they want you to have 12 to 20 frozen eggs for a chance to have 2 kids, because out of the 12 to 20, they're assuming that 2 are gonna work, because it's like such a process to like put it back in, and like when they unthaw and whatever. But anyways, yeah, so if I was like with a guy, I mean, I'd want to get pregnant naturally, but if I could not, yeah, I would take one of my frozen eggs, it would go back in, and then we'd try to like conceive in that way. Yeah. But it's weird because it's expensive and difficult, and then like afterwards you're like on Hinge and you're like, for this, I'm gonna unfreeze my fucking $10,000 frozen egg that made me cry and gain 20 pounds for this. And you're like, you can't think that way because this is just a man on Hinge.
Yeah. As someone who still in my 40s hasn't found someone, I still think like it's like the process of finding a guy, to me it's like they're all crap because they're all not for you. But the one that's for you is perfect for you.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is like, I think single girls are like, oh, there's something wrong with me, or every man that I go for is like not right for me, and that's, you know, there's something wrong with me. But it's like, that's how everyone felt before they found the one.
Yeah.
Like every person that's with their partner now, before that person was like, oh my gosh, I keep picking all the wrong guys.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, they're all wrong until you get to the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever want kids?
I had like a moment in my 30s. I think for a long time I didn't want them, but I also was like, I just couldn't have one. I had like no emotional resilience. Like I would have just been screwed. And then in my 30s, I was like mid-30s, I was like getting it together in life, and I was hanging out with my friend and we're having lunch, and her 5-year-old was with us, and I was like, I could have a kid. Like I was just at a point in my life where I'm like, you know, like I have that capacity, and then I had to like go like explore it again, like mentally, emotionally, like, is that the life I want? And I didn't want it, but it was kind of cool just to think about like, yeah, like you can just do that. Like that's a thing you can just invent, is like a family.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm behind or whatever because I don't have kids, but then everyone's like, having kids is like the easiest thing to do. Like you just don't pull out and then you have a kid, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's actually like it's not like someone accomplished something by like having a kid, you know? Like obviously you accomplish something by having like a beautiful family that like, you know, I don't know, that you love. Like it's not even an accomplishment, it's just like a happy life. But I was just always under the impression, I'm like, yeah, of course I'm gonna have kids and a husband, like of course. And then it's interesting to see other people be like, I actually never thought that way. And one of my best friends was like, yeah, I don't want kids, I never did. And I'm like, how did I never know this? Like I just kind of assumed that everyone wanted this, or that everyone was kind of following this life path. So it's interesting, but I do want kids eventually. Like not now. I think it's hard to picture now because it would be nice to meet someone and have kids with them and be able to picture it. But I think that, you know, even if that right guy doesn't come along, there's like so many like non-traditional routes of families and kids and things like that I think I would explore when the time's right. But it's like I don't even feel close right now.
Yeah. And
I think that everything is just kind of getting older. Like people are doing things at older ages.
Yeah. And when it does happen, it happens fast, right? So
that's true. Like life changes happen so fast and you're thinking about them for so long, and then you're like, oh, the thing happened. Like I've always been behind in life. Like I don't know if you feel like I lost teeth last, I freaking got my period last, I kissed a boy last, I had sex around the same time that I kissed a boy, so I wasn't last in that. But like I was like always behind, and I was always like, oh my gosh, everyone's done this thing first, everyone's already here, like am I even gonna get there, blah blah blah. And then it's like, I get there and it's like, oh, yeah, this is fine.
And then once I find also, like, once you get there, no one believes you that you didn't think you were going to get there.
Yeah.
Because you seem, as soon as you do a thing, you seem like you know how to do that thing because you're doing it. So then people don't believe you that
you were late or whatever. Yeah. Or it's like you could think you're late, but you're actually kind of at a similar timing, right? So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
Everyone's time feels different to them, but most of us are kind of moving in the general.
Yeah. I feel like there's just always those same people that are first.
Yeah.
For everything, like first kid, first boyfriend, first this. Like there's just some people that are first, and then there's just some people that are last.
Yeah.
And it's what it is.
Yeah. I do feel like I come up last and like slightly less conventionally, but then I'm always sure like this is how I wanted it. Like I even when I have moments when I'm like, you know, when you hang out at someone else's house and you're just like, I like the way their thing is, and you sort of have a moment of like, what if I lived like this? And then at the end of it, you're like, nah, I like my thing.
No, I don't do that. I just get really jealous of them, and then I hate them. But I'm like, fuck you for having everything that I could have ever dreamed of, you piece of shit. But then I do that with like 10 people and like all the different aspects of their lives.
And you can't be 10 different people.
Yeah, because it's like I want that of that person, and then I want that of that person, but then when I do reflect on my own life, I'm like, it actually makes sense how everything worked out. Yeah. Like it actually could not have worked out in a different way, and had it worked out in a different way, I don't think I would have been happy.
Do you have a thing like when something bad happens that it feels like, of course this is my problem?
Sometimes, but I'm trying to actually reframe that and be like, I actually watched a video today where this guy was like, you can frame like everything can kind of be framed as positive, and not in a toxic positivity way, but in a like, oh, this thing was not what I wanted, but there was obviously a reason for it because everything in my life is set to like, this is my life, like this is what it's supposed to be, right? Yeah. And I think if you like kind of frame it like that, it just makes life a lot easier. But yeah, that's really hard. And a lot of the times I'm like, of course this would fucking happen to me. And then I cry in my bed. And then everyone's like, I don't care at all. Everyone's like, get it together. Your life is fine. Oh, I guess so. So yeah, I do that.
So I feel though like for people I've met through stand-up, I'm like, you must be more organized and together than a lot of them. I'm going just on the fact that I know you're an accountant.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I always was someone who like did well in school and kind of just organized things myself. Like even in university, I didn't really go to class a lot, but I was like reading the textbook because I didn't like find going to class useful. I didn't have to listen to like a professor recite the textbook. I could do it myself, kind of thing. And I don't know why I thought that was relevant, but and then yeah, like I graduated and I started working at a really big accounting firm, and although it put me into a depression because it was like really hard and they worked me like way too hard, and when I look back I'm like, holy shit, I was 21 and treated in that way. It also made me like a very like, there were benefits. Like it made me a very organized person because I had to be. It taught me like professional skills. It was kind of like a sink or swim situation. I was an auditor, and then so like everyone hates auditors, right? Yeah. Because you're like, can you fucking like get out of my life? I'm trying to do my job, and I'm like, I need 50 samples, I need 50 expenses, you know. And everyone's like, get out. But then that also helped me because I was like, oh, like everyone hates me, and I have to kind of like make them like me to get what I need for my job. And so it was like, not that I was like funny or whatever, but it was like, oh, you hate me? Haha, I hate myself too. And like just kind of like doing that and like kind of like connecting with people. It's like very transferable into what I do now in comedy. Like when I go into a room where everyone hates me, I'm like, I get this. I understand this. But yeah, it definitely keeps me organized. Like I just feel like I've always in a way kind of done my own thing. And I think when you're the type of person that does your own thing, you have to be organized to get things done. Like even working during COVID, I was like, yeah, this is fine because I can organize myself and my hours. Like I don't need my boss staring at me to like be productive and get my work done, and I don't need someone checking in on me being like, okay, like this is your schedule for the day and make sure you finish these things. Like I can do those things myself. So I do find it has helped a lot in comedy, and I have seen other people and I'm like, oh yeah, this is like a skill that I have, that I've learned, or that, you know, I have from my life that other people don't, right?
Yeah.
From like a professional kind of environment.
Is it also like, okay, this is a big assumption on my part, but I'm thinking it's kind of like a gift as somebody who's like when you transition into stand-up, most people are start making money from stand-up, but they still have to have their other job. I feel like accounting is something maybe easier to do as a side hustle, like to pull in a bit of money here and there from it.
Yeah, so the interesting thing is like people are like, oh, you're an accountant, like can you do my taxes? And I'm like, no, I actually can't do taxes, and if I do your taxes and I do them wrong, I get my CPA license taken away.
Oh shit.
So it's like a whole thing. But I mean, I worked really hard in my early 20s, which I think was actually hard for me to process afterwards, because I was like, did I waste my youth? Like I was really pushed, in my opinion, like too hard in a lot of ways. And I look back and I'm like, what if I could have had more time to start comedy earlier? Or what if I could have done all these things? But then because I pushed myself, because I was in that position in my early 20s, it has now given me a bit more freedom, like now that I'm in my early 30s, because it's like I have found a job where it's more part-time and I can focus more on comedy. Whereas like if I was the type of person that maybe took like a couple gap years or went back to school, or, you know, worked a job that didn't really have that that path that I could follow, then I don't think I would have the time for stand-up now. So it goes back to like everything happens for a reason. Yeah. Like I look back at my life and I'm like, no, it did have to happen this way, because I have thought a lot, like what if I started stand-up earlier, and like I once tried it at 24 and it didn't go well, so I didn't do it for another 4 years, but what if I just stuck with it then? Where would I be today? Yeah. But it's like I wasn't ready, and it's like, yeah, it's how it happened is like how it had to.
Yeah. And I feel like if you go at 18 into the arts, especially like with stand-up where it comes from your own life experience, then you're immediately removed from like everybody else. Whereas because you spent your 20s in a corporate job, that infuses you and your work with like relatable shit. So when you talk to an audience about a work day, you're not talking about like, oh, you know how it is when you're on movie sets all day, or like you've done normal people shit.
For sure. And I think, you know, there's a lot of stand-ups that work a ton of different jobs, but I think usually those jobs are in hospitality or, you know, part-time work or whatnot. So I think the fact that I kind of have this corporate experience and I can relate to people with that, I don't think there's like a ton of comics that can do that.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, when I say I used to be an accountant or a corporate accountant, like I can see people kind of look up and be like, what? You know, like, what? She has that experience. Like, what is she about to say? Right. And then it's like, if I can say something that relates to them that not a lot of comics may have. And it's like, yeah, for a lot of my life, for all my life before comedy, I never thought that I was going to go into comedy. I didn't watch stand-up comedy. I didn't care. So I did have this whole life before it without even thinking about comedy in any sense of the manner.
Yeah.
So it does help a lot.
When people, like if you run into someone you grew up with and you tell them you're doing comedy, are they surprised?
I think my friends who knew me well, like knew that I was always funny, but I think they are surprised because it's like I wasn't a fan of comedy. Like I didn't watch comedy. Like the way that I started was someone at my accounting job said to me, oh, you're really funny. Can you tell a funny story for this fundraiser that I'm doing like outside of work? And I was like, okay. And then I did it and everyone's like, you're so funny. You should do stand-up comedy. And then I went to Yak Yaks and I bombed and I'm like, this isn't for me. I'm never doing it again. And then 4 years later, I started actually doing it. But to go back to it, I had never said anything about wanting to be in the arts. Like, I wasn't in the arts. I'm like, what's the point? Like, I need to like make money in my life. Like, I don't understand. Like, want me to get on stage and say a little skit? Like, who the fuck cares? So I had never thought about it. So I think my friends are like, you've always been funny, and I'm happy that you're doing this. But yeah, there are people that are like, oh, you were always really quiet. Because I think like in big groups, or if people didn't know me that well, like I wasn't like the class clown, making like loud jokes. I wasn't like always running around, but that's a lot of comics. Comics aren't the class clowns.
Like some people are, like, I would say like attention seekers, but a lot of people are like more like they're observant in a group. Yes, and that's why they can do comedy. Yes, they're like, they're thinking about all the different things.
I was thinking about that today. Like, to be a comic, you have to be so self-aware. And it's like, I'll get on stage and I'll look at someone and be like, oh, you've been doing this the whole show. And I can tell they're like, how the fuck did you know that? Because it's like, I barely looked at them. But it's like, once I'm on stage, like, obviously not like 200 people, but if like I'm at the corner or something, it's like, I pick up on what every single person, like, it's just, I observe. It's the energy.
I like seeing you at the corner because it's a small room, and some other rooms are small, but they have bright lights, so you can't really see the audience.
Right.
But the corner's really like set up for crowd work. Yes. And you have like a funny way.
Oh, thank you.
How you talk to people. I guess every comedian does, but I don't know. I like it a lot.
Yeah. I also like don't really talk to people. I just like look at them, and I don't know. I don't
describe. Comment.
I just comment on them. But no, it's like my cousin, she always says this. She's like, you were never funny growing up. And I'm like, you were always laughing, but you're just like not a self-aware person. So you didn't like realize. Anyways, but she's like, yeah, you were never funny. And then she's like, I was thinking about it the other day. Like, did you just sit there and like write jokes in your head about everyone, or just like observe? And I'm like, no, like that's not. But it's funny because like, yeah, just like you're so different with different people. Like, and I don't mean that you're fake or you have different personalities, but it's like different people bring out different sides of you. So like, yeah, when I started comedy, there were definitely some people who were like, what the fuck? And there were some people who were like, that makes sense. And there were some people who were like, you've always been funny and I'm glad you're doing this, but I never expected you to do it.
Yeah. It's weird too, because like I remember as a kid, like I was really, really giggly and I just laughed a lot. And I remember even as a teenager, I couldn't tell a joke because I would just start laughing. And then I would make people laugh because I would be laughing.
Yeah.
And I don't do that now. Like my style on stage is very deadpan. Mm-hmm. And people are like, people will talk to me about being deadpan, and I'm like, it wasn't a choice. I didn't know I was doing it. I just thought I was telling jokes. And then my style was just like how I was doing. I don't even know why. I'm like, possibly I developed it because of how hard I was laughing.
Right.
I don't even know though. It's just like the way you become something isn't like, you don't really notice. You just like are it.
You just are it. Yeah. I find like for me, my humor is like pretty similar on and off stage, but it's like a different expression. It's just different. Like when you're on a stage and everyone's looking at you and you're the one making the jokes, and it's not a two-way conversation. It's just gonna be different. Yeah. Right. But yeah, like when I was younger, whenever I was in friend groups or with my friends, like we'd always be laughing, and then people would be like, yeah, I'm just like always, and I'd be laughing too. And then I started to realize like that's not everyone. Like not everyone is always laughing. And I'm like, oh, interesting.
I remember once I was staying with my brother and his wife for like a month, and my sister-in-law commented, she's like, you laugh a lot when you're by yourself. And I was like,
what a weird thing to say.
Because she'd be like in the other room, and like I'd just be like hanging out, and she'd hear me laughing, and she's like, that's not normal. Like people don't just like laugh when they hang out alone. And I was like, I guess I do.
I like would you be like looking at something on the internet, or would you just be like laughing?
Both.
I'll laugh a lot when I'm looking at things on the internet. Like, I truly think the internet is so fucking funny. sometimes I'll laugh really hard on my own. Sometimes I'll think of a new joke and laugh really hard by myself.
Yeah.
But also a lot of the jokes that I think of that like I think are like the funniest ones, like no one else likes. It's so niche. And then the ones that are like general, I'm like, yeah, of course you guys fucking like this, you know?
One of my problems is I watch a lot of TV and movies, or it's like I'm on my phone, but it's niche, so it's like I can't, this joke doesn't make sense unless I was doing a commentary on the thing. So I can't make fun of it on stage.
Like you can't like pull up a projector.
You know how when you're watching the 5th season of this niche show,
and like this thing happens, I'm more just like, I don't know, my favorite jokes are like, my favorite jokes are dumb jokes and suicide jokes. And those are like the 2 jokes that I'm the most scared to make. And I think that's why they're my favorite, because like I'm so scared to make them. And when someone does like a good dumb I actually do have a lot of dumb jokes. And I have like one kind of suicide joke. When you say dumb,
do you mean like an obvious joke? Or
like a Mitch Hedberg.
Okay.
Yeah. So like those kinds of jokes, like I just think it takes such skill to like say something so dumb and silly and to like still make it funny and not make it like, oh, that was like so stupid, that person's so stupid, right? Yeah. So that kind of
joke,
you
have to be smart to be dumb.
You have to be so smart to be dumb. Or like you can like, I don't know, be like a dumb person, but then everyone's like laughing at you because you're dumb and you don't realize it, but like on stage. But yeah, you have to be really smart to be dumb. And then suicide jokes, I don't know, I like those too.
I'd be scared to, do you have some that you make?
I just have my one about getting hit by a car. Like me and my accountant friends, when we were working in accounting, we had a dream of getting hit by a car because then we could take time off work.
Oh.
So it's not like suicide. I guess it's like wishing of harm, but like it's like mild.
Yeah. I guess like I get nervous people are going to get mad at me, so I'd be afraid to
because people are like, you shouldn't joke about suicide.
But whatever. I feel like you actually should. Like, yes. I've seen a few people where I'm like, that was... And I do think... I don't know. It's such a weird thing, though.
I mean, I personally think that you should be able to joke about anything. I think the things that people are going through the most or that are the most sensitive subjects, like, can and do make the best jokes. It's just, like, the more sensitive, the more likely it is that you're going to touch the wrong nerve. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like comedy's all about touching nerves. Like it's an involuntary reaction of someone laughing. But then, if you touch the wrong one, then that's when people get really upset, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. I remember Matt Render made a joke. We were at Ice Queen, which is like the world's shittiest bar on planet Earth.
It's the dive bar of dive bars.
It's kind of like if Corner Gas was like worse. Like it's like it's like Corner Gas in real life, but like on like more drugs. Like it's so bad. And he was like, you guys know I could just like go inside, lick the floor and die from like the drugs. Like I could just kill myself right now by licking the floor. And I just for some reason thought it was the funniest thing that anyone's ever said. And like no one laughed, and I still think about it to this day, like how funny it is that he was like, I could fucking kill myself by just licking the floor. And it's like, there's certain jokes that like no one else has found funny, but those are the ones that like stick with me so hard because I'm like, when you have something so niche and so to you and you're like willing to do it and everyone's uncomfortable and they're kind of like looking at each other like, oh, like, but it hits like a nerve within me, I'm like, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. So yeah, I don't know.
I love that.
Yeah. Like I remember Jess Bow, I don't think she's doing comedy right now.
I haven't seen her in a long time.
Yeah, but she's great. I was gonna say she was great, but
she ran Crimson Tide,
which
was this like
Crimson
staple
Wave,
Crimson
yeah,
Wave.
I know. No, I once produced a show and I had her headline, and she made a joke, like a daddy issues joke. And I just remember, like, not many people laughed. And I was like, that was the funniest joke I've ever heard in my life. I was scream laughing from the back. And everyone's, like, looking at each other like, oh, like, that's kind of dark. Like, that's kind of this. And, like, I'll just, like, never, like, I'm not going to, like, recite her joke. But it's, like, I'll never forget it. It was, like, the funniest thing I've ever heard.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I love those. But they're hard because you're performing them to silence a lot of the time. So you have to find your crowd, or you just do it and you don't really give a shit, right?
Yeah.
Or like, because you're like, is this not funny? Or is this so niche that if I found like the 10 people on planet Earth that like it, they would be my fans forever because this is like so good.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a lot of things though, like sometimes like I've seen a comic trying to do a joke and it's not working, and they'll have an assumption of why it's not working, and they'll be like, fuck you guys for getting offended, and I have to be like, it's not, you're telling it backwards, or you're not explaining it enough, or sometimes like sometimes there's a thesis involved that I just don't agree with, and I'm like, I just can't.
Well, sometimes it's just a bad joke, or sometimes it's just a good premise but it's not well written, or sometimes it's well written but it's not a good setup or premise. Like there's so many factors to it, right?
Yeah.
So then it's like, what do? You tell it 10 times, and if it bombs 10 times, you don't do it again? Or do you stick with it because it's something that you love and you don't care if everyone hates it? Or like, there's so many avenues.
I think you have a duty to try it in a bunch of different ways, then put it away, then come back when you're better. See.
I know, like when I have a premise that I really like, or a joke that I really like, but it's like not working, and like parts of it work but I can't like super figure it out, and then it works, like then I figure it out and it just like, it crushes every time. I'm like, this is the best, you know? Yeah. But then it's like, there's just so many things like in the ether or the background, or like I'll think of a line but there's not a joke to it, or I'll think of a joke but I don't have the punchline, and it's like, when it comes together, you're like, this is awesome.
Yeah. It's like a weird feeling when you know the premise but not the punchline.
And sometimes you just like put things away, and then they come back, or you try it again, or you figured it out and then it works. It's weird.
Do you have like a standard writing like write every week or every day? Or
I tried to do that, but it just doesn't work for me. Like I feel like for me, how I've always been is something will happen in my life and I'll just think about it 10 million times. And one of those 10 million times that I think about it will be funny. I'll be like, oh, that could be something. Or I'll just be like walking and I'll think of something. I basically just like, when I think of something that I think could be a joke, I write it in my notes app. And then, yeah, I'll just kind of naturally think about it if it's something that I like or something that I think could be a good joke. And then I usually just like write in beats. So I'll write in like kind of bullet one-liners, or I'll kind of know in my head like, okay, these are the lines that I want to try. This is where the punchline is. These are the setups. And then I'll kind of, I don't write on stage, but I like, yeah, like I work it out on stage. But I've tried to sit down and write, and it doesn't work for me.
Yeah. It's fun and scary to work it out on stage, I think. Initially, I did everything like it was written before, and I would like write it, and then I'd say it to a friend, and then I'd go to a mic with it. But yeah, I think it's like at a certain point it's hard to write, but it's more fun to write on stage, even though it's really scary.
It also depends so much on the joke, I think. Like for me, like I have this joke about the dating apps, and at first I hated it because I'm like, this is so basic. I don't want to be talking about the dating apps, but it's like, it's such a good joke. It formed in like a day. Like literally, like I thought of it and I wrote a whole fucking 1-minute joke in a day. And I'm like, why can't I do this for the premises that I give a shit about? And like, it is like such a killer joke. Like someone actually messaged me a couple weeks ago and they were like, oh my God, I think about this joke that you do like all the time. And I'm like obviously that's really nice. And I was like, that was so nice that they said that. But I was like, I wish I could do this with the premises that like I love, you know, and not like a date. But anyways, so sometimes it'll just like, I'll write it in a second. Like I'll just think of it and write it. And then sometimes, yeah, I'll have to play with it, or I'll think of like a line here or there. You know, I've been working on this joke about skinny talk. Do you know what skinny talk is?
I do, but explain it
for the listeners. So it's TikTok, but like my TikTok algorithm is like skinny girls. and it's like these skinny girls yelling at you like how to get skinny, and they're like, it's not genetics, and they're like eating ice and stuff. So it's like
an eating disorder community.
It's basically an eating disorder community. So like I'm like writing a joke about it, and I'm just like saying how I'm lying in bed eating chips, being like,
do they mention the movie or the book Skinny Bitch?
No.
Okay, so when I was in my 20s, this is like around 2006, there was a book that came out called Skinny Bitch.
Okay.
And it was like this woman that was basically saying like the way to get skinny is to be a bitch. And I think it was like kind of like holding yourself accountable. I don't know. My friends were reading it and I was just like, stop reading this.
Yeah.
Like, because I was skinny and I'm like, it's gotten me nothing. So first off, it's a stupid endeavor. And then secondly, like, it's just giving you a license to be mean. And you know who's suffering? Me. Just me.
That's so funny. I mean, I think if I was in my 20s, it would be like so toxic, or like if I was like at a different point with my body. But I think there are, maybe this is not the right thing to say, but I think there are positive things that you can take out of it, right? Because a lot of them will be just like give a shit about yourself. Like, don't take shit, and like you can be who you want to be. And yeah, you have to have discipline or whatever. And I feel like some of those concepts are good, but you really have to like take it with a grain of salt, because there's other stuff where you're like, oh, this isn't good. Like, they fucking put cottage cheese on everything, and I'm like, can we stop it with the cottage cheese? I don't want to eat cottage cheese and ground beef. That's not attractive to me. Like, enough. Like, let's do something else. But yeah.
Yeah, for people that want to be hot, it's weird that they're promoting eating beef and cheese.
Yeah, that's like the new thing. It's protein, and it's easy, and I'm like, that's disgusting. And then there was this like one girl that's like on a diet, and she's like, guys, I really don't want to eat my beef and cottage cheese today, but I'm doing it because I have goals. And it like goes to her beef cottage cheese. I'm like, I can't with you, you fucking dumb bitch. This is disgusting. But it's like she's trying to be like, I'm persistent, I'm gonna look good in a bikini, and it's just her beef bowl.
Are you into astrology at all?
Like, to an extent.
Have you had your Saturn return?
I don't know what that means. Oh, at 29?
It's somewhere around there.
Okay, so I've heard of the thing that happens when you're 29, where like you kind of just like are like, okay, I don't want to say I need to get my life together, but it's kind of like all of the things that you might have been putting off in your life, or that you want, like, you're like, oh, it's time to actually like live my truth.
Yeah.
I had that.
It's the idea that like Saturn returns to the place it was where you were born, and if you don't have discipline in that area, it starts to fuck with you.
Oh, interesting. Because like I've always had discipline in my life, but I think like around the time of my Saturn return, I would say, is when I like started comedy and was like, I actually have to like be myself.
Oh, which I guess if you're too loose in your youth, then you have a period of like growing up at that point. But I guess if you were very like
I'm the opposite.
tight, then you had to like do the like find yourself.
Yeah. Kind of find myself, kind of like release like society's expectations of like what my goals should be, what I should be doing. Like what my family wants of me, and just like there was a lot that I was just not, like, this is gonna sound so gay, but like I just like wasn't letting my light shine, you know? And I was like, okay, like what am I gonna do? Like die like this looking for a fucking husband and kids? Like, no.
That's I totally get that though, because it is just externally people will look at like what you have, like, oh, you have a good job, and like you're doing well in life.
Yeah, but I had all the shit.
Yeah,
I a CPA. I had the jobs that were leading to the more jobs that were leading to the 6 figures. I was dating. I was on the dating sites. I was going on dates trying to find the husband, and that's what consumed my time. What else do you need in life, right?
And you'd never had a creative outlet, really? Mm-mm. Were you a reader?
No. I don't read. Like, I didn't do anything.
What was your downtime like?
Reality TV. I think people look at me and they think that I, like, listen to, like, Leonard Cohen. Like, that's what... Someone said that to Hannah. was like, who's like, what kind of music does Monica listen to? She's like, what do you mean? She's like, I feel like Monica strikes me as the type that listens to Leonard Cohen. I'm like, I don't involve myself in the arts, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I involve myself in Taylor Swift, but I'm not like, I don't watch like movies or TV or film or art. I don't go to like art galleries. Like, I don't see myself as like an artistic person. Like, every time I go to fucking like pottery or paint nights, I like have a mental breakdown because I'm like, this didn't turn out how I wanted it to, and I'm not good at it. Like, it always looks like shit. So I don't see myself as like artistic in that way.
Yeah.
I just did like math and business and was like, who needs the arts? There's no money there. And then lived my life.
Do you think you're a black and white thinker?
Like, yes and no. The reason I love accounting is because it's black and white. Like, it's so simple. Like in school, like I loved accounting theory and financial accounting because it just made sense to me. And I wish life was like that. Like, I wish I could control all of life and there was just like an answer and the balance sheet balance, but it doesn't, right? So that was like a really hard pill for me to swallow because it's like everything that I can control in my life, I did.
Yeah.
But then the thing that like I couldn't control, which was like love or like a relationship or like finding a happy relationship or even being happy in myself, which I can't control, but it's like at the time, like so many things were out of place that that was hard for, because that's all the gray, right?
Yeah.
And then comedy is like so gray. Comedy is like the definition of not black and white. So it's like I'm kind of on like that's where I found like my way in terms of like,
it is kind of like the most, I feel like it's the most right wing of all the arts. Like, if you were gonna do something creative, but you were like, I don't really like art, I feel like comedy is the one. Like, you can use it to rail against things that piss you off. Like, it can be...
Right. Yeah, but I think to be good at it, you have to be, like, I do see myself as creative because I do stand-up comedy, but I think to be good at stand-up comedy, you have to be creative.
Yeah, it definitely comes from, like, the intuitive brain.
Yeah.
Because there's stuff that I write, and then it isn't funny because I wrote it sort of, like, logically. And then I'm like, oh, it's clever, but, like, that's not stand-up. And then I'll come back to it when I feel silly, and it's definitely from, like, the other side of the brain.
For sure. It's, like, I've always interpreted things, like, through the lens in which I do comedy. So it's, like, I see the gray in that way and I see like the creativeness in that way, but then it's like, yeah, I love things that I can control, like numbers. When
the culture right now, there's a lot of like, it isn't binary. Are you like, fuck you?
What do you mean?
I feel like a lot of things in the world right now are culturally asking us to not see things as this or that.
Okay.
They're, like everything, like gender is a spectrum, but I feel like it's not just gender. It gets applied to like everything is a spectrum and things aren't black and white.
Oh, I don't really care about that because I'm like, everyone and everything can just kind of like do their own things. And I think there are a bunch of different perspectives. It's more just like, it's easier for me, like the things that I felt that I had to do in my life, like get the job and get the husband and get the family. It's like, that would all be nice if it was just black and white and I could have just like gotten it, right? Because it's like I did get the job because I was black and white. But I guess like, I think the fact that relationships are not black and white is very hard for me. So it's like, I wish that like, I could just know if someone was into me or know why something didn't work or like, no, like like relationships with like men or family or whatever, you know? But yeah, when it comes to like the external world, I'm like, do whatever. Like I care. I care about the world, but I'm also like, I don't, do whatever.
Can I ask you about dating?
But I'm starting to get to a point where I'm like, okay, I need to like assess things because I'm like, do I want that man or that type of man to be the father of my child? No. And if that's a no, then why do I want to be with him? Right?
Yeah.
And just like, I get the privilege of seeing like a lot of my friends in very healthy relationships with like great men and just like being like, oh, like these are examples of like what I would like in my life. And like you kind of need to have like an example or a guideline. So it's like, it's nice to see that and experience that and then kind of shape like what I want. But yeah, my problem is, like, I love men who hate me. It's just, like, the chase. Like, it's just, like,
Is it like a limerence thing?
yes. And it's just, like, an unbalanced nervous system of, like, this is what you've kind of been taught that, like, love is. And so it's, like, that's the pattern that, like, your body is just used to, or that you just, like, go into.
One thing I've wondered about myself is, like if, like, when I like somebody that it can work with, then I have to look at all the faults and, like, be accepting of their faults and my faults, and, like, because mine come out more when I'm with a person. But if I love someone from a distance, like a celebrity or a guy who's unavailable or a guy who doesn't return my affection, then I can always be in touch with that, like, high level emotion of, like, oh my God, I saw him, he's so cute.
Yeah.
And then that's, like, you know, like doing a drug, it's really great.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to, like, going on a date with someone and there's so many awkward moments and, like,
for sure,
you're getting,
you know, going, them, ew.
Yeah. So it's, like, more, not fun, but yeah, I guess it's more fun to be in, like, a distant relationship.
I don't even know if it's fun. It's just, like, so easy to, like, make them up to be, like, the perfect person because you literally don't know them.
Yes.
So you're like, oh, this is who you are. But in reality, you actually, like, don't know them at all.
Yes.
Like, those are the guys I would say that have, like, broken my heart the most, are, like, the guys that, like, I didn't even date. I just, like, built up what it would be if we dated, which is actually not true at all.
Yeah. And it's, those are the best relationships.
I know. And you're so heartbroken, and they're like, we never went on a date.
Because if you actually liked someone a lot and dated them and knew them, however sad you are for a period of time when it ends, you also know, even at the beginning of the breakup, like, well, ultimately, that wasn't going to work out because you knew what wasn't right about the two of you together.
Exactly.
But if it's broken before it starts and you don't know them, they're perfect.
Yes.
You lost everything.
I was like, I was thinking about this on the drive here because I was like, I feel like if you're in a healthy relationship, like, as you said, and it ends, like, you're sad, but you're like, I'm okay, I'm good, and I'll eventually, like, get over it, and what's meant to be will be. But if something, like, drags on for years and, like, you never even, like, really dated them, or, like, even if you did date them and it just, like, keeps going, I just think it's something within yourself that you have to, like, get to a point where you're like, no, I am okay. I am, like, good. I am good enough. This did not work out for a reason, because if this was the right person, they would have liked me enough to, like, stay or to be with me, right?
Yeah. I listened to this thing that said that, like, if you love a celebrity or someone from a distance, that you're like finding value in qualities that sometimes, not always, but you're finding a way to love certain parts of yourself that you can see in them. Yeah. So, like, if you love, like, Timothy Chalamet, that might be, like, because there's parts of you that are very sensitive and, like, artistic, and you're, like, adoring that. Or, like, if you love, like, Eminem, that might be because, like, you like the part of you that is deeply, like, emotional and, like, abrasive. So you're like, it maybe too if you had some part of yourself that wasn't allowed to shine, or so you're finding a way. It's like a thing you're doing with yourself. Yeah,
it's like all a reflection of you, and I think you're also looking in others for what you're not providing to yourself, which, like, you should be able to, like, provide for yourself. Because if you're able to provide everything to yourself, when people come and go, like, it can be sad, but you're like, oh, well, at the end of the day, I'm okay. Yeah. But you know what? It also goes back to how every person felt before they found their person, which is, like, there's something wrong, or, like, why can't I find the right person, or, like, what's your issue with dating? Like, everyone felt that before they found the right person, because they're like, what am I but you're just dating, you know?
Yeah, and there's an easy way to make money if you tell people it's more than it is, because then it's like, no, it's a thing you have to learn. You have to learn my 5 steps.
My 5 steps, and then you'll be fine with the 5 steps, and you'll find a husband. It's like, no, I won't. I need 6 minimum.
How many steps would be in your program?
My program would be a holistic approach and be like, bitch, there's no steps. There's just life. And then, like, it's funny because like 23-year-old Monica would be like, what are the fucking steps? Give me every step. Like, I'll study them and I'll like do them. And now 31-year-old Monica is like, bitch, there's not even a staircase. It doesn't exist.
I would read your book for sure.
Oh my God, thanks.
I want it to be like how to quit your corporate accounting job and become a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that one out.
How's it going?
Well, I'm still working as an accountant because, like, this doesn't pay the bills. But it's, like, it's just hard because I feel like at the beginning this was, like, a hobby. And now that it's become, like, more serious, everyone's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I have no idea what's going on every day. And then some people are like, oh, like, you're so, like, brave for, like, doing stand-up comedy. And I'm like, I cry all the time. Like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just like, I actually love this thing and, like, can barely live without it. Like, I could live without it, but I'd be miserable. So I'm, like, doing it. And then everyone's like, okay.
Do you have anything you've done that's, like, been the biggest thing for you so far? Like, that you just were like, I can't believe I've done this. This is so cool.
Like, comedy-wise?
Yeah.
I think doing 30 minutes. I think...
You were touring a bit, right?
Yes. So I toured Canada, and that was really cool. And touring with Tamara and Rebecca was, like, really cool because I remember when I...
Tamara Siobhan and
Rebecca Reeds. I remember when I started stand-up comedy, I produced 2 shows, and my first show was good, and then I was like, maybe I can ask, like, Tamara, like, I don't know if she'd say yes, and I, like, barely knew her, right, because she's, like, the best and a headliner, and I was like, hey, Tamara, like, would love to have you on my show, and she was like, yeah, and I was like, oh my God, Tamara Siobhan is gonna be on my show, and I was, like, hosting, and I was trying, like, so hard to impress her, and I remember, like, I was like, oh, like, I didn't get a huge laugh from that, and I wish that was funnier because, like, Tamara's here. So then, like, for her to, like, ask me to go on tour across Canada, like, a couple years later was, like, insane.
Yeah.
And it's, like, now we're, like, such good friends. Like, honestly, I think just becoming friends, like, even Hannah Valdoon, like, becoming friends with the people that, like, you idolized at first, and you're like, what the heck? You like me? Like, I'm a fan, you know? And then they're like, oh, my God, you're so funny. And I'm like, what? And, like, that is, like, the nicest part, I would say, is like when the people that like you respect and look up to like you as a person and as a comic, and CBC. No, I think like doing 30 minutes, and sometimes like I'll think about that because it's like every day I'm like, oh my God, there's so far to go. How am I gonna get there? Blah blah blah. But I'm like, Monica, a year ago, if someone told you like you'd be like doing Saturday nights at the corner, like you would have been so fucking excited and been like, how the fuck did you get there? And I'm like, yeah, it is big.
Okay, so when you were doing like when you do the longer sets, like how do you feel?
So I've done 2 30-minute sets. I feel like nervous beforehand, but that's like good because I don't like to get stagnant in comedy. Like I don't like to just do like, I mean, obviously I'm happy to do any show and they're all different, but if I'm just doing like 7 to 10s for like months on like, you know, whatever shows, I do get stagnant. So it's like, it forces me to like prepare, which is good. And then it doesn't feel like 30 minutes. And then I get off stage and like, you know, the first time I did 30 minutes twice. The first time was by accident. But it still went well, and then the second time was on purpose.
When you say by accident, like you didn't realize the time was passing?
So I was on tour, and I had 20 minutes on tour, and we did a tour stop where they were like, oh yeah, you have 20 minutes, but like if you like run the light, that's fine. So the light is like, they give me the light at 18 minutes to say in 2 minutes you have to wrap up. So I was just like doing really well, and I was flowing, and I knew that like I didn't have to wrap up. But I also did not see Tamara give me the light because for some reason I thought that she was taking a picture of me. I don't know why that was my thought process. There's like a huge like flashlight flashing at me, and I'm like, oh, she's just like taking pictures.
I must look cute right now.
I think she like lit me like 3 times, but like and then I was like, it's weird that Tamara hasn't given me the light. I feel like this is 20 minutes. I'm going to wrap up. Yeah. And she's like, you just did 30 minutes. And they weren't mad because they like told me that I could do extra time. But I was like, holy shit, like I did 30 minutes. But I would have gotten off stage earlier, but it was going really well and like crowd work was flowing and stuff. So that was like the accident. And then the one on purpose was like, yeah, I really prepared. And I think because I prepared, like I knew what I was doing. I knew what 30 minutes was. And then I think the nicest thing was someone was like, that did not feel like 30 minutes. Like they're like, oh my God, you were on stage for 30 minutes? Like it felt so much shorter. Like that's what you want to hear, right? Because if someone's like sitting there being like, oh my God, this freaking headliner's been on forever, like that's not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't feel like 30, right? Unless you're like bombing and just like reading. And just like everyone's like, when is this done?
That's awesome. It sounds like you like built up to it enough that like you can own it now.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually talking to some other comics about this because it's like really hard to get 30-minute sets like in the city. Like once you're at 40 minutes you're a headliner, but to get to the 40 you have to start with 30.
Yeah, you can't go 10 to 40.
No, like you can't go like 20 to 40 or whatever, because like corner I do 15s, and then if I do out of town gigs a lot of times they'll give me 20s, so I'm comfortable with 20. But to get from 20 to 30, I have to keep doing 30s. Yeah. And then to get from 30 to 40, you have to, like, establish yourself as a headliner. So, anyways, people were just saying, like, you kind of at that point have to give it to yourself, like, run your own show or do something. But, yeah, it's nice. It's, like, I've just, like, again, it sounds gay, but, like, my biggest accomplishments have always been, like, the actual, like, craft of it. Like, connecting with others who like I respect and then like they respect me, working my way to 30 minutes, making jokes work that like I've been mulling over and that have some weird parts, but then I like figure it out. Like those are like the coolest moments. What about you? What's been your biggest accomplishment in comedy? Also, I haven't asked you any questions. Is this supposed to?
No, it's more for me to get to know you. But my biggest accomplishment was doing like I headlined, but I gave it to myself.
Right.
And it was only like a 15-minute set.
But that's awesome.
But it was at Backroom because I was doing a show there.
I did your Backroom show.
Yes.
You let me headline. Yeah. That was so fun. That was a good time.
But yeah, and now it is kind of like my next step is to just try to headline more, do like longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you kind of have to, because for someone to put you on as a headliner, you have to already be a headliner. So it's like, well, can I already be a headliner if I have to headline to headline?
Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of have to do it for yourself.
Yeah. And then I get to confront my least favorite part of stand-up comedy, which is producing.
Yeah, man. Producing is such a fucking bitch. Like the amount of comics that like DM'd me. I produced 2 shows like years ago, and like I get DMs from comics who I've never even met in my life, and I'm like, why would I put you on my show when there's 50,000 comics that I see every day?
Yeah,
it's insane. And then also, yeah, like I remember the second time I produced, it was on like this huge like snow ice storm.
Oh God.
Like it was literally unsafe to go to the venue, and the venue was like, yeah, we'll still do it. And I'm like, okay. And then I had to like set up a Zoom for people that like couldn't come, and then like it was mostly like a Zoom thing, and then there were like some people that still came, and then the people who came were like mad because they didn't know there was a Zoom, because I didn't tell anyone there was a Zoom because I still like wanted people to come.
Yeah.
And it was like literally unsafe to get home, and I was like, I'm not doing this again.
Fuck.
And I opened the show, I hosted, and I headlined, and I produced. God. Because this comic that I kind of knew from New York came in, and I was like, yeah, I'll give you a spot, because like I had seen him before and he had done really well, so I put him on at the end, and he like didn't do that well, and I'm like, I can't close my fucking show with this, so I just like headlined it myself, and I was like, I'm never fucking producing a show again.
Oh my God,
that sounds so like a tired. Nightmare. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna have to probably at one point do it again. But if you're a comic listening to this, don't fucking DM me. My show is not for you.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I want to produce some stuff that's like 3 people doing 20.
Yes. Because like if it's 3 people doing 20, or like I don't know how you want to set it up, but like if I were to ever produce a show, like I would just kind of do like random one-offs, and then it's like no one thinks you do a monthly, so they're not like messaging you for the next month.
Yeah, people asking me for stuff is so annoying.
But it's also like, it's actually, because Tamara runs a show, and she's like, it's just gonna happen. Like, you don't owe anyone anything, so you can actually just ignore it.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's the thing too, is like, I think, like, nobody cares when you say no to them. Like, it's just a part of
because they'd copy paste their inquiry.
Okay, well, I've really loved having you on.
This was so pleasant. I had such a nice time. We covered so many topics.
I love it.
Yeah.
Where can we find you on socials?
Okay, so my main account is Instagram at @MonicaGross_. Monica like Monica Lewinsky, gross like disgusting. And then my TikTok is at @MonicaGross__. Don't ask questions. And then my YouTube is at Monica Gross Comedy. And I know that's also annoying, but the main one is Instagram. And also Facebook, Monica Gross. And I might be coming out with my own podcast soon. So if you follow me on Instagram, you can get updates on that. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for being on, Monica.
Thanks for having me.